Welcome to Unknown Theory, and this is part 2 of the rise and fall of Dan Bilzerian. Today we'll discuss specifically about the controversies surrounding his company Ignite. Disclaimer, we can't confirm any of the theories or stories we talk about in our channel. All stated information is purely for entertainment purposes. In our last video, we talked about how Dan Bilzerian's crazy lifestyle is funded. He has claimed that he made it all through poker, but we covered how his dad, Paul, made a few sketchy deals and amassed over $40 million in fraud and hid it throughout trust funds before going to prison. If you haven't watched the video, we recommend watching that one first, and then come back. Anyways, since then, Dan Bilzerian has joined the Navy, attended the University of Tampa, dropped out, played poker with famous stars, gotten over 32 million followers on Instagram, bought a $62 million mansion, and even started his own cannabis company, Ignite. For someone like Dan Bilzerian, it looks like the sky is not even the limit. He lives the life any man would want, surrounded by beautiful models, tons of parties, money and traveling in luxury. But what seemed so good and lasted a lifetime, didn't last as long as Dan would have wanted. In 2017, he began his own company called Ignite, which sells electronic cigarettes, CBD oils, water bottles and vodka, among other products. The company has its headquarters in Canada and went public in 2019. Each share was listed at $2.5 and got over $25 million from investors, $20 million from debt, and $24 million from a short-term promissory note. But then their stock dropped to 54 cents. And then after that, the company lost over $50 million in under a year. And how did this happen? Well, according to many journalists and financial professionals, Dan used his company to cover all of his personal expenses, including his mansion, private jet, lavish vacations and more. Some of the crazy expenses Dan Bilzerian used through his company include a rock climbing wall, a paintball field, guns and ammo, $500,000 yacht rental, and a 6-figure, 2-night trip to London. I don't know about you, but those don't seem like company justified expenses. It was also announced to the public that the $65 million mansion in LA wasn't his, but instead he lived there by paying rent. And he also was kicked out because he never paid the monthly cost of $200,000 in rent. Since the company lost $50 million, Dan Bilzerian has completely disappeared. Besides moving from the LA $1 million mansion, he hasn't thrown any wild parties, hasn't been seen on vacations, and his last picture posted on Instagram was 6 months ago. He was even in a lawsuit battle against Ignite former vice president and president, Curtis Heffernan. So what happened to Dan Bilzerian? Well, in 2021, after Ignite almost had to declare bankruptcy, there were rumors that Dan almost fled the country after he wasted all of his investors' money. But this year Ignite rebounded and had profits of over $10 million. He has also expanded to the Asian market where he established a new distribution network, and even finished writing his own book. This year he looks as if he is trying to make amends after the last 2 years proved that he couldn't handle being the CEO of the company. Dan Bilzerian hopes he can get Ignite to the top, and be once again, trusted by the public. Something that will prove to be a very difficult task, given his history. So, what do you guys think? Will Dan Bilzerian go back to the top, or will remain the bottom after his past failures?
And then I want to be president.
You want to be president of the United States?
Yeah, I think I can do it.
Let us know in the comments what you think. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.